Hi everybody, it's Dr. Nichols-Boyle. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to integrate your documents, videos, photographs a little bit more naturally and optimized for a website. So one of the things that often happens when people think about how am I going to go show examples of my work is that they end up just copying and pasting in a long document. And in that case, you might as well just have a Word document, right? So we want to make sure that it's effective for the audience and highlighting your good examples of things that you want to show for that audience, especially your projects, any kind of PowerPoint presentations or explaining your work, especially a creative work or an essay or anything like that if it's grad school, without making it overwhelming and making them want to read it, right? So I am going to show you a few examples of this from some of the student projects that I had in the module, and then I'll show you how to go through and do them yourselves. And there's different ways. There's galleries, there's buttons, there is just doing images and descriptions, but just to get a general idea of some of your different options, like PDF viewers and things like that, and a little bit more also about how to do links and more with the copyright um, and image credits, and a little bit with social media. Then I will have a separate short one that will deal with image credits to some extent more, and SEO and the mobile view. So let's start with looking at some examples. The first example is from the elementary education teacher, and this is a simple one, but it's effective. So you can see what she's done here is put in just an image that represents the project in some way, that has a box that gives a title, a description of it, and then a link to the full project. And she's also chosen to put the image credits here under each one. You could also do that in the credits or have the image itself linked to a site if you explain that as well. So this isn't as dynamic as maybe a gallery, but it gets the point across. It's aesthetically pleasing, and it explains all of the information. And you might want to, again, work on your links being a different color. We'll talk about inserting links too here so that they stand out a little bit more. But other than that, this is a really nice representation of her work. And it's in a format that makes people want to read more, but they aren't overwhelmed on the time. And you can see here the contact of this isn't related to the projects. This is where you have the kind of your copyright, your social media buttons like LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, anything that is professional and you'll be comfortable with employers seeing, or that they would be able to have access to either through a password or public, and to contact with just your email. You don't need to have your phone number or full address for privacy reasons. And a lot of times you'll see these already in the template, but they are going to Wix sites instead of your own. So that's not a great example. And you want to make sure to be more professional that you are making them go to your own information. So that's one way of doing it. Another one is to use buttons. So here's one from the person who was doing more IT. And you can see in this example, they've given first an overview of the different projects as a whole, and then given a button that links to the full text or document for each project with a slight description underneath. And these are all in Word docs, I believe. It would probably be better to have them in PDFs just for making sure the spacing maintains exactly as it should be. And it's a little bit harder for people to take parts of that and reproduce it than it is in a Word document, especially if you're talking about your own original creative writing or something like that. So that's one way, and again, alignment could be a little bit better, but this works really well. And then here's some that are more visual. So this is from the multimedia person. This one is a little description of the different kind of photography and a nice gallery here. And if you click on each one, it goes to the full screen, has a description or a title and the year, so you get a little bit more information about each one. And if you weren't sure if the viewer would notice that or not, you could also add in kind of instructions like click on each picture for full view and description, something like that. And then they also had videos in here as well. Link to the Vimeo page. The link could have been better, but in terms of how she displayed the videos, this is really strong. Each of these strips has the ability to play the video within it, and then has, again, her name, the title, usually a year, and a short description. And then if you feel like all of this is a little bit too complex, you can go with a more simple thing too, where you might just have a page about your project. Like this one was a river cleanup, and I think you had another volunteer type page too, where you can just put in some images of it and a short description. So all of that works. And here they also had a PowerPoint presentation. This might have been better as a button to stand out a little bit more, but you get the idea. So there's lots of different ways to give examples, but all of them are effective as long as you're guiding the reader and you're not overwhelming them. So let's look at some different ways to do that. So if we go into the website editor, I know many of you have chosen this template where it has a projects page and it's already put in a gallery for you. If you want to add in your own gallery, you just go to add and you go to gallery here. And then they have pro galleries and you have different options. This one here is a slider. When you choose one of these, you will be able to also, this is more like this slider here with the arrows, you will be able to change that format again if you want to too, but this is how you can get into some of the galleries and the different formats. So this is one that's already inserted. It'll come with default images, and then you will be able to decide yourself how to adjust that for your own project. So you can put your title here, give a little information to it. You might even link to your title to the full version. And then if you want to put in your own images and information, you can click here. You can start with the settings if you want. If you are not sure if you like this layout, you can change the layout here to different kinds as well. And there's other, you can choose that you want it to open and expand mode as well, and a few other design options. The main thing you want to do is the manage media. So by managing media, if you add media here, any images that you have, they will just make more slides. If it has too many slides, you just want two maybe, then you could go ahead and remove from gallery. But the easiest thing to do, it will usually kind of auto adjust to the size of yours, is to replace the image. So in this case, say I wanted to do my blog and I did a screenshot of my blog. If you're not sure how to do a screenshot, you can look at the instructions in the module. It's pretty straightforward. So I did a screenshot of what my blog looks like. If this is something I wanted to include. And you can have the option of cropping and editing it and adjusting it here. And you can also include a video in this as well. And giving it your tags if you want to. But I usually like to sort of add it in and see what it looks like and then adjust from there. And if I need to, I can always change it out later. So we'll just add to page. And there it is. And now, if I click on this, I can start adding in some information that would show up when somebody clicked on it to give more details. So my title would be Writing for the Web Blog. My description might be something like class blog created to give information and start conversations. Something kind of short, but gives a little bit more detail. And then I can add in the link here too. And when you click on the link, it'll ask you where you want to link to. So when you're inserting links in your text, which I'll show in a minute, you could do it to a different page, like see my education section. Your resume doesn't have to be all in one section. You could break it up into different areas and just have a link to the printable resume, something like that. Or you could link to a document, etc. We're going to do a web address here. Go ahead and paste in the address. Make sure it always opens in a new window so that people will stay focused on your site and not get lost. And then go ahead and hit done. And I could do that for each of these too and change them out, but we'll just get the idea with one. And hit done here. And there it is. And I would like that maybe to be down a little bit further so I could go back in and adjust that image a little bit. But generally I like the look of it. So if I wanted to go in and adjust the image, one thing you can do instead of replacing it, working with it, you can put the focus where you want the most attention. And I want it to be up here. So I'd like that image to focus more on the words. So if I moved it on me, I want it up here. Okay, something like that. And if I hit done, then usually it will change that a little bit, but I hit the wrong button. So it would have made it a little bit more focused on the headline. So if I go ahead and hit preview, just to give you an idea anyway, when you click on each of them and you double click on the thing, it will give you information. So you can see this is the basics, but for mine, it says write for the web blog, it has a little description, and it has the link to the blog itself. And you can see the whole thing well in here. And I could change the thumbnail a little bit later if I wanted to. So that gives us a nice indication of what to do. And again, I could give those instructions, click on it for whole description, etc. I could put in some other blog posts and work my way through it. You could also embed a PowerPoint presentation, but this is just giving you an idea of one way to do it. So that is how to use it with a gallery. Another option is to use buttons. So these are kind of buttons already, but I can show you, for example, with the buttons on the home page here. And they've chosen circular buttons, but if you want to add your own button, you'd just go here and add button, and then you can choose whatever kind of design that you like the best. You'll be able to change the color and the font later, and you can go through and look at different options. You can make it an icon as well, whatever you choose. So I could choose something like this, but we'll just presume I've chosen this button here to give you an idea. And then that button can link to either a section of your page, or this can link to another document. So again, you could have the button off to the side, make a description, and then have it linked to it. So if I want to change the button text, I go in and change it here. One of the things I've done here is that it has said resume instead of resume, and we'll ask you to change those if you haven't. The easiest way to do that if you have a Mac is just to hold down the button, and I would have to make it in caps first, and then you will hold down the E or whatever you want to put the accent over, and then choose the one you want like that. So that's pretty simple in the Mac. It's a little bit different for others. You can insert characters. You might be able to just copy and paste from Word. So there's different options as well. But so that's what I want the button to say. Now the next thing is, where does it link to? So if I click the link here, in this case, it has a current window if you want to do a page, so it will show up in that window. But again, I could link this to a web address, I could link it to a document, and so on. So you get lots of different options there. Okay. Now, another way to do it is to use a PDF viewer. So the PDF viewer is one of the things in the app section. So I'm going to go to a new page to kind of show you how that looks. One that I just created blank with just education. So for this one, I'm going to go to the app section, and I'm going to type in PDF viewer. So you have two options here. You can do a flip book, which you can create an easy account, you download a PDF, and it appears like a book. So I did this a little bit earlier. Add to site. Okay. And then when you go into the settings here, you'll have to log in or sign up, and you'll just be able to go ahead and put in your PDF, mess around with it a little bit, and it will look like a book. And that's one option. and I would recommend that for a longer piece, maybe. And then I'm just going to delete that and show you the option you're probably more likely to use, which is the PDF viewer. And I don't want this to be, say, a replacement for just, oh, I put my resume in there in a viewer, because I still want you to be highlighting and showing and describing different aspects of that experience a little bit more while you have the chance. But it's going to be a really good way to, say, maybe put in an essay or a short story or something along those lines as well. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and drag it to where I want. Something like that, maybe. And again, you can play with the spacing. And then I would probably put a text box over here to describe it. And then where you want to go here next is to add your PDF file. So you go into the settings, and you have a couple of options here. So you can have it as a thumbnail, you can have it real small like that, or you can do the full page, which is what I chose. You can have it displayed as a full viewer, a mini viewer, or one page. You can choose whether people are allowed to download the file, which is kind of nice if, say, it's a resume or something you want them to be able to see, and print or not, or if links in the file are clickable or not. So that's up to you. And I have the automatic zoom here as well. And the other options for instead are actual size or page fit or page width, etc. So you can kind of play around with this however you want. So I like the auto zoom is a pretty nice feature. So here I'm going to upload my PDF, and I've already uploaded some earlier, so it would be easier. So I have my my CD, my curriculum vitae here, as a nice kind of thing that would look good in this. So there's my CV, so people could see it easier. And I don't love how this is, so I'm going to play around with. Now I've accidentally chosen the layout there instead. It's just on the footer. So I want to make this a little bit smaller. There we go. Without doing that. Okay. And look at that. Okay. So that gives a good sense of it. Now, if you click on, if I see this in the preview, you can see that people can do other things. They can zoom in. They could also do the presentation mode by clicking on these little arrows here, and that allows them to see it in the full screen and just scroll down like this, and which is a really nice feature. Okay. So again, if you were to put this in your screen like that, and you want people to have the options, you would maybe say, you know, this is my curriculum vitae, or you probably would have it as an essay. This is my essay. Here's how you, in order to, you can use the download or print it using the buttons at the top left or top right in the document, or the sideways arrows to see it in the full screen. So I would probably give some kinds of descriptions like that, a title, etc. But I think this is a nice feature that can be really helpful. So the next feature I want to talk about briefly is the anchor. So I don't know how many people will want to use this, but when you have a long document, you can do subpages, but sometimes it's just as easy to do an anchor where you are giving some kinds of indication, either a small menu or in the page itself. You're just having it, like maybe you have your poetry examples, short story examples, essays, academic essays, and you want it to be kind of on your writings page, but you don't want people to have to endlessly scroll. So you might have this short stories, essays, poetry as names up here, and adding your text, and then you can link it to a different part of the page. So let's say I wanted to put down here, I add a little text button here. I'll make this a paragraph. It's fine. Move it down here, and I can say this was my section on my academic essays or something. bold, whatever. Great. And then I wanted to link somewhere up here to that section. So I might have somewhere up here the idea where I'm adding in, say, and you can just make it a menu or an anchor here. So I could do an anchor menu, 1, 2, 3, something like this. Or I could just add an anchor itself. Nope. It sometimes does not like to be where you want it to be. Move over, please. Oh, it wants the menu to be on the side there. Okay, so regardless, you can manage the menu then, or manage your anchor. So I'll just do an anchor to make it a little bit simpler right now. Okay, so we're going to make this anchor's name Academic Essays. Okay, great. And then you're going to place your anchor wherever you want it. So you will drag the anchor screen here down to where you want it. So I want it to be down here because that's where my academic essays appears. Okay? So now, when I hit preview, you click on academic essays, it will bring me down to that section of the screen. It would be more dramatic if it was longer, but you get the idea of it. Okay? So that's kind of a nice feature to be able to use. And then the other thing I wanted to show you was how to do some of the simpler things like links and the copyright and those kinds of things. So we'll go to maybe one of the main pages here again. So let's go back to a page that has more text on it, like the home page. And let's say that you were wanting to link one of the words in here to maybe one of the pages or a website. So it's I'm a student, I'm a nursing student at IUSB. So we're going to have something like that at IU South Bend. Nursing student at IU South Bend. And of course, we'll have a better, more interesting introduction than that. Let's just have this as an idea. And then maybe you want to put nursing student, link it to the IU South Bend Health Sciences page, or even IU South Bend to the Health Sciences page, nursing section, something like that. So you will highlight the text, click on the link here, and then you want to go to a web address. Again, you could do a page as well. If it was a page, you would just choose a different page you want here, or see my resume page, something like that. But we'll do web address, and then again, you can just do usb.edu with a more specific one, and hit done, and there it is. Now the problem is that Wix does not automatically make it a different color, right? So it's just, I don't think it stands out as much because it's just an underlined link. What would be better is if it was a different color. It's something that stood out as a link. Unfortunately, in most templates, the only way to do this is to kind of manually go in and change the link colors, but I think it's worth it. So you would just highlight it, and now I'm going to change the color. And you can go with any of these custom colors here, kind of like that pinky version, because that seems to fit in with some of the other colors here. But again, you could always go to add and then scroll until you find the color you want. Just remember the hex code for later so that you can keep it the same. Okay, so, and then, yeah, I like that. I like that color. And then I think if it's a color, I don't need to have it underlined anymore because it will be obvious as a link. And then when I preview it, it will show up easily as a link, and it will open up the web page that I want. Okay, so go back into the editor. So that's the basics of creating a link, which is pretty straightforward. But I wanted to make sure that you knew kind of how to work within it and change the color and that kind of thing as well. As I mentioned, you'll want to think about your copyright and your social media links at the bottom as well. So when we get back into the editor here, you can change those just manually, so editing the text. So we make this 2021, or you can say 2023 by Nicole Ryder for a template. If you wanted to keep it, that you're keeping the same template. and then 2021 for images and words, writings. Whatever it is that you feel you have created is your own that you want to protect in the copyright. But it's a good idea to have that there somehow. Right? And then you also have the social media bar that's here. Social bar, you can add that up a little bit too. In contact, you can always erase anything that you don't want to use, like if you don't want to have your phone number in there, that's totally fine. I would not recommend it actually. But then you could also do your social media bar here too. Many of them will have them already. If they don't, and you want to have it in there, then you'll just hit add, and you'll go to social. And you can choose one of these. Even if you don't have all of them, don't worry, because you can take out whichever ones you want. And if it doesn't have something you want, like LinkedIn, you'll have the ability to change those as well. So that could be a good option. If it was a business or something, you might even put it up in your header to have it there more prominently. So the most important thing, you can work on the layout. I would not recommend animation, but you can also put the social links in here as well. So set social links is the biggest thing. So let's say if you want to replace the icon, so I don't have Facebook, but I want to do my LinkedIn, then you just go here and you hit LinkedIn instead. So there's all these different social icons here, pretty much all the ones you can think of, YouTube, whatever. So I'm going to keep it the same though for now. And then this is the alt text, which is fine. So it's a Facebook image. And then instead here, you'll see what they have is the Wix homepage. And that's not very professional. So you want to choose, go into your profile page, and same with Twitter, and do the address from there and put this in so that it goes directly to yours. Make sure you test those out as well. And again, if you don't want to use any of them, you just hit delete and you add the ones that you do want. So that's pretty straightforward as well. And then the image credits, you could also put in the bottom here also if you want. And what you do for those is you can do, I just add the text or put in with a text button that's already there, like image credit, and then just give, if you only have a few, like book, have that link to the IUSB page or wherever you found it from. Or you could say all from Wix Gallery if it's if there are Wix ones, or personal images, just so it's clear that you're not cheating anyone out of their copyright. Or another solution is just to put image credit, images linked to a site, and that way you can link the image to wherever you got it from. And in that case, what you do is when you go into the images here, is that you just make it a link. So you link that to a web address and you link it to wherever you got the image from. So that's another kind of easy way to do it. So I think that covers most of what I wanted to get through for this one. The other things, if you want to embed something yourself from an outside app, work on your search engine optimization or the mobile view, I'm going to have that in the next video.